Madam Web is the brand new Sony Spider-Man villain universe spin-off movie. This time around, it is Dakota Johnson playing, obviously, Madam Web, but Cassandra Webb, who is a New York paramedic. But towards the middle part of the movie, she realizes that she can, out of nowhere, see the future. And what it's telling her to do is to protect these three kids who are played by Julia, played by Sydney Sweeney, Anya, played by Isabel Merced, and Maddie, played by Celeste O'Connor, because they're being chased down by Ezekiel Sims, played by Tahar Rahim, who in his future sees the fate of himself being killed in down the line by these three who are now at the point teenagers. Also, the movie is Adam Scott as Ben Parker, the uncle of Peter Parker, who in this 2003 version where the movie takes place, Ben Parker is working with Cassandra Webb as a paramedic. And you also have Mary Parker, the mother of Peter Parker and the sister to Ben Parker, who's played by Emma Roberts. The film is 1 hour and 57 minutes and is PG-13. Welcome back to a brand new review here on Max Talk. We're talking about Madam Web. So please subscribe, ring the bell. I talk movies, TV shows. I do ranking videos and I talk box office. So subscribe, ring the bell, comment down below. Where does Madam Web rank for you in the Spider-Man universe? Where does it rank for you in the spin-off universe with these movies? Let me know in the comment section what Sony needs to do moving forward with this franchise. Also, please like the video, guys, the thumbs up button. So as you can tell, I want to go through those intros quickly because I have a lot of thoughts on this movie. And it's, as I'm getting into my review now, I did do an out of theater reaction. You can see my general thoughts in that 53 seconds. But I hate having to do this, which is bashing a movie because this one's really hard for me because I feel bad for a lot of people involved because this, very similar to a lot of other Sony Spider-Man films, feel like just studio meddling. And that really is to say this movie is really bad. And it's unfortunate because there's a lot of talent here that should be delivering. For people like Dakota Johnson, she's just known for the 50 Shades and she gets a lot of bad rap for being in those movies. But for me, she's one of my favorite actresses working today. I love Cha-Cha Reels, one of my favorite movies in the last 5 years. The Lost Daughter, she was excellent. She's excellent in so many things. Sydney Sweeney, obviously coming off of Euphoria and Anyone But You. There's a lot of good actors, Adam Scott, Emma Roberts, that are in this movie. But this just feels like a studio who had an idea, the writer, director. You also have S.J. Clarkson, who is a director, and then you have, she's also part of the screenplay, but a total of 4 people have screenplay credits in this movie, and 3 people have story credits for this movie. It just feels like they had an idea, and then multiple people had multiple different ideas, and they jammed all that into one movie. And then Sony was like, actually, we're going to do this and this and this and this. And then the movie just comes like this. It just feels like a conveyor belt of all of Sony's spin-off movies. And I mean, the biggest problem with this movie compared to a lot of the other Sony movies is that this movie is so dull and so boring and so uninteresting. It's a tough watch. There's just no moment for me watching this movie where I was like, I was having a good time watching this film. There are characters that are very famous, especially like me who reads the comics, and I just didn't care at all about what was transpiring during the movie. Now, yes, people are complaining. It's definitely fair complaint. There is definitely not a lot of action in this movie, but I don't need all my superhero films to have an action scene every 10, 15 minutes if the story is there. And this movie has a rough time with story. And you can tell they reworked so much stuff because there is so much voiceover ADR. It is laughable how much bad voiceover work really is forced into this movie, especially with the villain of Ezekiel Sims, played by Tahar Rahim. There's a moment in the movie where he is having a conversation with someone and he is mouthing something that is totally not what the voiceover is saying. Like, it is laughably executed poorly in that type of way. And there are multiple occasions where characters are clearly saying something that the voiceover is clearly not saying. And that is really bad stuff. And I think Sony has a major problem right now where these movies really do feel like that Sony's just putting out Spider-Man-like movies to keep the rights, because contractually for Sony to keep the rights of Spider-Man, they have to make somewhat of a Spider-Man-esque movie with their characters. I think not, maybe it's every year, maybe every other year, something like that. And that's what Morbius and Madam Web feel like. And the difference between these two movies and the Venom movies is that Venom movies can sell. Venom is one of the most mainstream comic book characters of all time. And while for a lot of people, they don't really like the quality of one and two, I tend to have fun with two. One's a very much a messy movie for me. Those movies can make bank, and the first one did. But you can tell now with Morbius and with Madam Web, these are characters you can't just throw out to moviegoers and say, trust us, because they're kind of related to Spider-Man. We'll go to the movies to see them. And you're seeing now at the box office for Morbius and Madam Web that Sony is struggling. And they still have two more Spider-Man spin-off movies coming out this year with Venom 3 and Kraven the Hunter, which they pushed for more, pushed. That movie was supposed to come out a while ago. Now it's coming out later this year. Sony is in trouble, and you can really feel it with this movie. The movie goes for a lot of comedy. It falls all the way flat. I was more laughing at the movie than I was even, I maybe laughed at one joke in the entire movie. There's emotions. The fight scenes themselves are not interesting. The movie tools with a very famous catchphrase in the Spider-Man lore multiple times, and it was done awfully all of those times. Because I do feel bad, because you can feel like maybe the director and the screenwriters did have a good idea and the actors signed up for a movie that they liked. But you can just feel bad because it just feels like a studio movie. It's kind of the first time I felt like this with Sony, obviously with Morbius, but also with The Amazing Spider-Man 2 that killed Andrew Garfield's chances of leading another Spider-Man franchise 10 years ago now. And 10 years ago later, while Garfield was in No Way Home, he's never had a solo movie since then. And it's tough because Dakota Johnson is a great actress, and she is just wasted in this movie, given some really bad dialogue to say. The movie tries at points to connect to Spider-Man-esque things, and then it doesn't. Characters are it's not good, and it's an atrocious movie that I believe is the worst film of the Spider-Man universe ever in the live action. I do think while I think Morbius is another awful movie, I have slightly, I guess, more fun with Morbius, but Madam Web is a rough watch, and I do think that Sony is in trouble, and hopefully by these box office numbers for Morbius and Madam Web, that they realize that people are not just going to show up to the theater now just to see another Spider-Man movie. If these are new characters who you need to teach the moviegoers about, they have to be done with care, with the script and directing and the acting, and that is just not the case in this movie. This is a rough watch that is more boring than it is even bad fun. So overall, I'm going to give Madam Web 0.5. Yeah, 0.5 for me out of 5 stars. I am going to go like 18%, I think is what I'm going to do here for Madam Web. Rough watch, easily one of, if not the worst movie I've seen so far this year. And for someone who's Spider-Man is my favorite superhero comic book character of all time, it is saddening to see what Sony is doing to these live action villains recently. So that's my thoughts on Madam Web. What are your thoughts on Madam Web? Leave it in the comment section down below. I'm sorry, 0.5, I think I have to give it like a 15% the most. So I am going to go 15% for Madam Web. Sorry, 18% gets it to a 2, so 15% for Madam Web. So what are your thoughts on the comment section down below? Like the video, subscribe, ring the bell. More reviews are coming soon to the channel. See you then.